Hello everyone. Phylum Orthropoda is the first largest phylum of the animal kingdom. So if you see this picture, then you can make a guess. What are these? These are shells. This is called a siphon. Open circulatory system and closed circulatory system. As I said, the animals are first of all very beautiful. Examples are very important. Welcome back to session 9 of this very interesting chapter called Animal Kingdom. What did we learn in the last session? We learnt about a very important phylum called phylum Orthropoda. Do you all remember I had told you all phylum Orthropoda is the first largest phylum of the animal kingdom. Why was it called as the first largest phylum of the animal kingdom? Because maximum number of animals belong to phylum Orthropoda on this planet Earth. And as you know, they are distributed in almost all types of habitats, and not only that, they have better adaptations to adapt to any kind of habitat, and hence they are successful in living in almost all kinds of habitats. Hence they are cosmopolitan in distribution. Moving on to the today's session. So which is the phylum I am going to deal with in today's session. Hope by seeing this beautiful picture, you all would have made a guess about this animal, right? What is this animal, children? It is nothing but called octopus. It is an octopus. How do you make out that this animal is octopus? You can make out the tentacles. Octo means what? It is having 8 tentacles, and also you can find suckers. So you can find suckers over the tentacles. And I think all of you know that this animal called octopus is also called as devilfish. It is called as devilfish. It is not a fish, but it is called devilfish. Why? Because it is a very dangerous animal. And you know, with the help of tentacles, it is going to catch hold of the prey, right? And not only that, it secretes saliva, which is quite poisonous, and that poisonous saliva is used to paralyze the prey. So this animal is very dreadful animal, or a very dangerous animal. You may wonder why I am talking about this particular animal, because this animal belongs to a very important phylum called phylum Mollusca. So today, in today's session, I am going to deal with another very interesting phylum called phylum Mollusca. Hope you remember phylum Orthropoda was called as Orthropoda because it had jointed legs. Here this phylum called Mollusca, actually it is a Greek word which is derived from a Greek language which means mollis. Mollis, or it is otherwise called mollus. That means they are soft bodied animals. Soft bodied animal. They are called as what? Soft bodied animals. Hence the name mollusca. Orthropoda, jointed legged animals. Molluscans, they are called as soft bodied animals. But you may wonder, you might have come across even the shells, right? Shells also, what do you mean by fresh? You might have come across an example called freshwater mussel, shelled animals. And shell may be univalve, one single cell, or may be 2 shell, where you use the word called bivalves. So they are also called, they also belong to phylum Mollusca. But I would have, as I have said, that molluscans means, what do you mean by molluscans? That means they are soft bodied animals. Mollusca means what? Soft bodied animals. But they also include shelled animals and non-shelled animals. What do you mean by shelled animals? Those animals which have a shell are called as shelled animals, and those animals which do not have a shell are called non-shelled animals. Hope you wonder, octopus, you don't find any shell here. Anyhow, I am going to show you to you all in the next slide. You can see the shells. So this is non-shelled animal. So molluscans include what? Both the shelled as well as non-shelled organism. Shelled as well as non-shelled organisms. Non-shelled organism. You might have come across shelled animals having a calcareous shell made out of calcium for protection, exoskeleton made up of shell, and that is mainly for what? Protection, right? So moving on to the very important characteristic features of this phylum Mollusca. As you all know, this phylum Mollusca is the second largest phylum of the animal kingdom next to phylum Orthropoda. So this is the second largest animal phyla. Second largest animal phyla next to Orthropoda. Orthropoda is called the first largest phyla. Second largest phyla of the animal kingdom is what? Phylum Mollusca, right? Hope you have understood what is molluscans. Molluscans are soft-bodied animals, right? Phylum Mollusca. What are the very important characteristic features of this phylum Mollusca? They are found both in aquatic and terrestrial habitat. For example, you might have seen octopus. Maybe you would have watched in movies, right? So this is an animal which is found in seawater, marine water. So they are found both in aquatic as well as terrestrial habitat, right? They are found both in terrestrial as well as aquatic habitat. Then they have organ system grade of body organization. See how the animals have started evolving from simplicity to complexity, from porifera to mammalia. You can see a better body organization. So this is the eighth animal. This is the eighth invertebrate phylum. Last invertebrate phylum, there are 9 invertebrate phylas, and this is the eighth invertebrate phyla. See, imagine from porifera you have started seeing how the animals have a better body organization. So the animals have evolved from simplicity to complexity. So you can see a better body organization as the animals have evolved, right? Now they have organ system grade of body organization. So you can expect a better body organization because they have what? Organ system grade of body organization. Next, they are bilaterally symmetrical animals. What do you mean by bilaterally symmetrical animals? You can cut the body of these animals into 2 equal halves in only one plane, right? Only one plane, hence the name bilateral symmetry. So they are bilaterally symmetrical animals. Next, they are triploblastic animals. What do you mean by triploblastic animals? The body wall is made up of 3 germ layers. That is outermost ectoderm, inner endoderm, middle mesoderm. So the body wall is made up of how many layers? 3 layers. Hence the name triploblastic animals. Next, they are eucoelomates. They are eucoelomates means what? They are true coelomates. They are true coelomates. What do you mean by true coelomates? That means they have a coelom lined by mesoderm. So coelom, what is coelom? Already have explained in the previous session. Coelom is nothing but the body cavity or the space between the body wall and the alimentary canal. What do you mean by alimentary canal? The digestive system. The space between the body wall and the alimentary canal is called as a coelom. So here you might have come across, already I have explained, there are different types of coelom. True coelom or eucoelomates, pseudocoelomates, acoelomates. Hope you remember all these terms. So all these are very, very important for the basis of classification of the animals, because as I said, the animal world only is something very different world, right? Made up of containing numerous organisms, numerous animals. So how do we classify them? Based on this basis of classification. So moving across once again the important characteristic features of this phylum Mollusca. What do you mean by phylum Mollusca? They are the animals which have a soft bodied animal. Not only that, you can also call them as shelled animals and non-shelled animals. Non-shelled animals are soft-bodied animals. Shelled animals have a calcareous covering as an exoskeleton for protection. And even very important characteristic feature is they have a visceral foot for locomotion. That is another very important feature of molluscans. And as I said, these are the first largest phyla of the animal kingdom next to phylum Orthropoda. What do you mean by the second largest phyla? Because they are found in large number. And they are found both in aquatic as well as in, that is, they are both in aquatic and terrestrial habitat, found in water as well as on land. Like for example, snail, phyla, apple snail, it is a terrestrial animal, right? Now, they have organ system grade of body organization. Then they are bilaterally symmetrical animals, wherein the body, you can cut the body of an animal into 2 equal halves in one plane. And they are triploblastic animals, that is, the body wall is made up of 3 germinal layers, outer ectoderm, inner endoderm and middle mesoderm, and they are eucoelomates. That means they are true coelomates having a body wall lined by a mesoderm. So these are all the very important characteristic features of phylum Mollusca. Moving on to the remaining characteristic features of phylum Mollusca. So what is this beautiful animal? It is nothing but called what? Octopus. Octo means what? It is having 8 tentacles, and it has, and you can see that the first, it is the first phyla where you can see very important thing, that is cephalization. You can see the formation of head, and it has been broadly classified into different classes like gastropoda, cephalopoda, pelcipoda, bivalvia, all are that. And here you can see it is having 8 tentacles with suckers. And what are these suckers meant for? To paralyze the prey. So once it holds the prey, then definitely it is very difficult for the prey to go away from the clutches of this dreadful animal. And as I said, it is called as what? Devilfish. Why it is called devilfish? Because it is very dangerous animal, hence it is called as devilfish. And what is the other very important characteristic feature? It secretes poisonous saliva, which is going to paralyze the prey. So once it holds the prey, then it is very difficult for the prey to escape from the clutches of this predator. Hence the name devilfish, right? Moving on to the other characteristic features. Hope you might have come across, many of you would have visited the seashore, and I think when we were small we had one habit of collecting the shells that are found on the seashore. So if you see this picture, then you can make a guess. What are these? These are shells. Seashells, we use a word called seashells. Already I told you, molluscans are broadly classified into shelled and non-shelled animals. This is made up of calcium carbonate, and it is mainly what? For exoskeleton, for protection. It is mainly used for protection. See how beautiful you get different shapes of these shells, and also they make some different ornaments also out of these shells. I think you might have come across, you go to a seashore or a coastal area where they'll be selling all these ornaments made out of this shell. So it's a very beautiful thing to see. Now moving on to the next characteristic feature. As I said, body is soft and unsegmented. What do you mean by unsegmented? Body is not divided into segments like how you found it in Orthropoda. Head, abdomen, head, thoracic region and abdomen. Here you don't find. The body is soft and unsegmented, and here the body is differentiated into 3 distinct regions, namely head, dorsal, visceral mass and ventral muscular foot. As I said, they are just like mass of flesh. So they are soft bodied animals. So you don't have a distinct, like you cannot differentiate the body like how you differentiate in arthropods. But here you can find that the whole body is differentiated into 3 distinct regions, namely anterior head on the topmost region, dorsal visceral mass and the ventral muscular foot. So you can, if you happen to see a freshwater mussel, it is called unio. The scientific name is unio, or commonly it is called freshwater mussel, and even that particularly you can see this ventral foot. Like you can see, observe this shell like this, and you can see this is called visceral foot. This is called as ventral muscular foot or visceral foot, and this is used for what? For locomotion. There are shells called univalves with one shell, and bivalves with 2 shells, right? You might have come across even pearl oysters, where the pearl is made, right, by the oyster, right, pearl oysters. So I'll come back to that in the next slide. So what is the next very important characteristic feature? Body is soft and unsegmented and differentiated into 3 regions. What are the 3 regions? Namely anterior head, dorsal visceral mass and ventral muscular foot. As I said, each and every characteristic feature of phylum is very, very important. As I said, even this phylum is also very important from examination point of view. Usually they ask this, write the characteristic feature of phylum Mollusca with suitable examples. So as I said, minimum 8 to 10 characteristic features with minimum 2 to 3 examples is a must for any phyla. So and as I said, remembering each and every characteristic feature you might find it difficult, but as I said, do the comparative study, compare the phylums, each phyla. Then at the end of this chapter I'll give you how to analyze this phylas, how to remember those characteristics. I'll give you the tips there, right? So body is soft and unsegmented and is differentiated into 3 distinct regions, namely anterior head, dorsal visceral mass and ventral muscular foot. And the soft body of the animal is covered by mantle or pallium, and it is this mantle or pallium which is going to secrete the shell. So as I said, what is that which secretes the shell? Here you can see the shells. Here you can see the shells, right? Here also. What is that? This shell is produced by this mantle or pallium. So the soft body of the animal is covered by a mantle or a pallium. Mantle, or also you can also call it as what? Pallium, which secretes what? Which secretes the shell. That is how they become shelled animal. If it doesn't produce the calcium carbonate, then the shell will not be formed. As I said, we classify the animals belonging to phylum Mollusca into soft bodied animals and shelled animals, right? And the mouth, very, very important. It contains a very, very important rasping organ called radula. This is a very, very unique characteristic feature found in phylum Mollusca. So the mouth contains what? A file-like rasping organ for feeding, and that is called radula. These are some of the characteristic features of phylum Mollusca. So what is it? The body is soft, unsegmented, differentiated into distinct regions. What are the three regions? Anterior head, dorsal visceral mass, and ventral muscular foot. And the soft body of the animal is covered by mantle or pallium, which produces what? The shell. And what is the unique feature of the mouth of these molluscans? Contains what? Rasping organ called radula. And I think all of you might have come across, most of the seafood what is obtained is major of the animals belong to phylum Mollusca, like sepia, cuttlefish, what we call it as loligo. All these are and even unio, the freshwater mussel also is a very famous seafood, right? So most of the molluscans are edible. Edible means which is suitable for human consumption. So here also you can see the mollusca, you can see the octopus there in the first picture where you saw the tentacles. Here the tentacles are withdrawn, and you can see the eye, right? See the eye of this, and it has a siphon, and this siphon is used for what? For osmoregulation. As it is found in aquatic water, as it is found in water, it regulates the water current. So through this siphon, this is called a siphon. And see the head with a large eye, you can see the large eye. Let us discuss about some more characteristic features. As I already said, the mantle or pallium secretes what? Calcareous shell, which is an exoskeleton covering the soft body, and it might be made up of in some cases like chiton, it might be made up of 8 plates like this. This is called as chiton, and this rolls off like a ball. So whenever it comes across a predator, you know how it escapes. I think all of you know. Even this octopus, even it also has predators, right? So it is a dangerous animal. It hunts most of the animals, but at the same time, even it will have some predators. So in order to escape from the clutches of the predator, you know what is it going to eject? It is going to eject blue color liquid called ink, blue color ink, and that ink is going to make the water muddy, and it escapes from the predators. So this is one form of escaping from the clutches of the predators. So here also you can see this animal. This is called chiton, where it is having made up of 8 pieces as in chiton, or it might be univalved in case of what you call it as freshwater mussel like this, and it is having a visceral foot. So this is called visceral foot, and this is univalve. What do you mean? This is bivalve actually. Bivalve. Unio is bivalvia, means it has 2 valves, right? And univalvia has only one. Like for example, the garden snail, you might have come across Kannadadalli the Shankuhula. So there you can see one valve, right? One shell. So here it may be made up of 8 pieces as in chiton, or maybe univalve as in snails, or maybe bivalve as in freshwater mussels and oysters. Pearl oyster, as I said, pearls are very, very precious. You know how the pearls are formed? So in a pearl oyster called pinctada, right? The scientific name is pinctada. So when some sand particle enters inside, and there is a secretion over the sand, and that will form a pearl, and it takes for around 7 years for the process of formation of pearls. It's not so very easy for the pearl formation. So pearl oysters, there are separate oysters called pearl oysters punctata, which is going to produce the pearls. As I said, how are the pearls formed? That is, when some sand particle enters the body of the pearl oyster, then there is a secretion of secretion like saliva over the sand, and that forms a round structure, shiny structure called pearl, which is having a lot of market value or demand, right? Now, so in few molluscans, they may be absent, as in octopus. As we know, in octopus, there is no shell. No shell. So it is non-shelled animal. So it is called non-shelled animal. It is called non-shelled animals, right? So digestive system is complete. Hope you remember in the previous phylas we have studied, digestive system is of two types, complete and incomplete. What is the basis for classifying the digestive system into complete and incomplete? If at all there are two openings, that is the anterior side the mouth and the posterior side the anus, then you call such a type of system, digestive system, as what? Complete digestive system. For example, if there is only one opening, like only mouth is present, then the digestive system is called incomplete. So what is the type of digestive system you come across in molluscans? So the digestive system is complete. That means to say it is having two openings, the mouth and the anus, with a transverse rows of teeth called radula. Already I told you. And this radula is mainly used for what? Feeding. So these are all the very important characteristic features of phylum Mollusca. So what is it? The mantle, as I said, the body, the soft body is covered over by a covering called mantle, or it is also called as what? Pallium. And what is the function of this mantle? This mantle secretes what? Calcareous shell, which is the exoskeleton covering the body, the soft body of the animals. It may be made up of 8 rows, like as in case of chiton, or it may be univalve or bivalve as in freshwater mussel, or it may be non-shelled like as in octopus. And the digestive system is what? Complete. Having a the mouth has a very important structure called radula, which is used for what? Which is used for feeding. Right. Moving on to the other characteristic features. Circulatory system is of open type. Hope you remember when we studied the basis for classification, organ system. Organ system is what? That is, circulatory system is of two types. That is, open circulatory system and closed circulatory system. Let me discuss about those characters later. Hope you can see this beautiful animal, soft animal. What is this? Snail. Usually we use the word called garden snail. Hope all of you might have seen in the garden. See this. This is called univalve. Only one shelled animal. Right here, and it is also called as what? Pila. Pila globosa. This is also called as Pila globosa. That is the scientific name. Common name is called garden snail. Pila. Right. See how beautiful this animal is. Right. And it is not dangerous at all. It's a very soft animal. Right. Creeping around. Right. In soft, moist soil. So this is terrestrial. So octopus is found in water, aquatic, and this is terrestrial. Usually you come across in your garden also. Right. Now, circulatory system. What is a circulatory system is? Circulatory system is open type. What do you mean by open and closed? Hope you remember, closed circulatory, like we have closed circulatory system where the heart pumps the blood and the blood is supplied through the blood vessels. But in case of open circulatory system, what happens? The blood is pumped by the heart, but it is not circulated through the blood vessels. Instead, directly the blood from the heart, the blood is pumped and the cells and the tissues are directly bathed into the blood. So there is absence of blood vessels, namely the arteries, and the minute blood capillaries called, minute blood vessels called capillaries is absent. So circulatory system is of open type with a dorsal heart made up of 2 auricles and 1 ventricle and few arteries that open into sinuses. So there is no artery as such. As I said, there are open into what? Sinuses, because there is no blood vessels. So these sinuses only act as what? Arteries, because there is absence of, and open means what? Without blood vessels. So and blood has respiratory pigment called hemoglobin. So here they have a respiratory pigment called hemoglobin. And as I said, you come across these molluscans both in aquatic as well as terrestrial habitat. So obviously respiration is by ctenidia, that is called gills, or even by mantle that covers the body. In terrestrial animals it is by pulmonary sac, what we otherwise call it as lung. In human beings we use the word called lung, pulmonary lungs. Pulmonary means what? Something which has to do with the lungs. Here it is called as pulmonary sac. So these are some of the characteristic features of this phylum Mollusca. So what is it? Circulatory system is of open type with a dorsal heart made up of 2 auricles and 1 ventricle and a few arteries. Few arteries means what? That open into sinuses, right? So blood has respiratory pigment called hemoglobin. Respiration is by ctenidia or gills or mantle. In terrestrial forms it is by pulmonary sac, or what we otherwise use in common terms we use the word called lungs. Right. Again you can see the beautiful shells here. Right. You can see the different types of shells. Different colored. As I said, it's something like beauty to see, watch all these things. And as I said, animals are first of all very beautiful. They beautify they beautify the glory of this planet Earth. So that is how we say that these animals are very, very important. Each and every animal has an important role to play, right? Like we cannot say only human beings are great and the other animals are very small. Each and every animal has a right to live, right? Excretion takes place by metanephridia. So what are the organs of excretion? As I said, you may not find like definite organs like what we find in higher animals. Like in higher animals like human beings, we have kidney which perform the process of excretion. So we cannot expect, the organ system is present, but still you cannot expect a highly evolved organ system like what the higher animals have. But excretion takes place by metanephridia. Nervous system, as I said, nervous system includes 3 pairs of ganglia called cerebral, pedal and visceral ganglia, which are interconnected by commissures, which is called it as nerve fibers connecting ganglia of the same region. So what is so unique about this nervous system? Nervous system includes what? Includes 3 pairs of ganglia called what? Cerebral, pedal and visceral ganglia, which are interconnected by commissures. What are commissures? They are nothing but nerve fibers connecting the ganglia of the same region. What do you mean by ganglia? Mass of nerve cells is called as ganglia. Mass of nerve cells. So you can see a ventral nerve cord like this. So these are the nerve fibers. So here you can see the ganglia. This is called ganglia. What is ganglia? Mass of nerve cells is called ganglia. Mass of nerve cells is called ganglia. Right? Now, moving on to the next. Sexes are separate. What do you mean by sexes are separate? Male is separate from the female. Fertilization is either it might be internal or external. What do you mean by fertilization is internal or external? The process of fusion of the gametes may take place inside the body of the animal or it may take place outside the body of the animal. So both are found, both internal as well as external. But I said the process of fertilization, external fertilization is not so very advantageous when compared to internal fertilization. As I said, because there are chances of the eggs being washed away in the water current or maybe eaten by the predators. So the survival rate of the eggs or maybe even the fertilized, what you call it as the zygote also is very, very difficult. So the survival may be difficult when compared to internal fertilization because it takes place inside and the process of development takes place inside. So the chances of survival is more when compared to external fertilization. And mostly oviparous. What do you mean by oviparous? They lay eggs. Right? And development is direct or indirect. What do you mean by development, direct or indirect? Hope you remember, I had told you all. Development means what? The process of development may include a larval stage in the life history or may not include a larval stage in the life history. If at all the animal includes a larval stage in the life history, then the development is called indirect. Right? So indirect development. Indirect development means what? Larval stage is present. I keep giving this example every time for this particular explanation. Hope you remember. Frog. Frog has a larval stage called tadpole larva. So what type of development frog has? Frog is having indirect development. Human beings do not have a larval stage in the life history. So the process of development is direct. Indirect means having a larval stage. Direct means no larval stage. Hope you remember. So here the process of development is both direct as well as indirect, including larval stages called Glochidium larva or Veliger larva. So what is the name of the larva here? Glochidium. It is called Glochidium. The other one is called, or it is otherwise called Veliger. So these are the larval stages. So maybe they'll ask you in exam. Name the larval stages of phylum Mollusca. What is a Glochidium or Veliger larva? So what type of development? Direct or indirect? It's having what? Both direct as well as indirect. It may include a larval stage or it may not include a larval stage. If at all it includes a larval stage, what is the name of the larva that it includes? That is called Glochidium or Veliger larva. As I said, this molluscan itself is so very beautiful, this one. And as I said, most of the molluscans are edible, like cuttlefish, sepia, cuttlefish, and even that animal also, to escape from the clutches of the predators, it is going to eject what? Blue color ink. So that ink is going to modify the water and then it escapes. So you all see how these animals have come out with certain adaptations to protect themselves from the predators, like how we higher animals also come out with certain strategies to escape from the predators, right? Hope you have understood the different characteristic features, right? So excretion takes place by metanephridia. Nervous system includes what? 3 pairs of ganglia called what? Cerebral, pedal and visceral ganglia, which are interconnected by commissures, that is the nerve fibers connecting ganglia of the same region. Sexes are separate. Fertilization is internal or external and mostly oviparous, and mostly oviparous, and development may be direct or indirect. Indirect may include a larval stage called Glochidium or Veliger larva. Moving across the examples. Hope you remember. So you can see this beautiful animal also in the picture. So this is also a molluscan. So what are the examples? Pila. Pila is called what? Apple snail. Pinctada, already I told you. Pearl oyster. Aplysia, sea hare. Dentalium. You know, it looks like the tusk of a elephant. So it is named as what? Dentalium, or it is otherwise called what? Tusk shell. Neopalina. Chiton. I told you how it rolls off, having 8 plates, and how it rolls off like a ball. Right? Chiton. Unio, freshwater mussel. Unio, already I told you. It will be like this. And it has a ventral foot like this. So this is called unio. And that is the freshwater mussel. Pila globosa, apple snail. Then octopus, devilfish. Sepia, cuttlefish. As I said, examples are very, very important. Just describing the phyla without examples will add no meaning for that particular description. So you may understand the concepts, but along with the concepts, I say particularly this chapter called Animal Kingdom has so many examples, and we should enjoy learning these examples. So when you describe any phyla and you don't quote any examples, then it will add no meaning for that particular phyla. With suitable examples, if you explain, then definitely it is going to add more to your answer. Right? Hope you have understood about this very important phyla called phylum Mollusca. As I said, phylum Mollusca is the second largest phyla of the animal kingdom next to Orthropoda, and as I said, these are called as what? Soft-bodied animals. But not only that, we can also classify them into shelled and non-shelled. Non-shelled animals are soft-bodied animals. Shelled animals, as I said, they have a calcareous exoskeleton made up of calcium, which is used for protection. And we have taken a very good example, and you have seen the picture of octopus. So whenever you remember phylum Mollusca, remember octopus, and remember the characteristic features of octopus. Then definitely you will be able to understand the characteristic features of phylum Mollusca. Hope you have understood all the characters what I have explained about phylum Mollusca. So I will be back with one more last invertebrate phyla in the next session. Till then, goodbye and thank you.